I'm 71 years old, and this is my final message. I'm leaving it because families don't just inherit property, they inherit stories, and whoever speaks first usually wins. Here is the confession. I paid my daughter to stay silent about what she overheard at the lawyer's office when I changed my will. I called it love, but it was control wearing a soft voice. I built that control around one physical thing, a sealed letter with my name across the flap. That letter is the inheritance that matters. Not the house, not the accounts. The sealed letter is a truth, and truth is the only currency my eldest son has never been able to counterfeit. Control doesn't always sound like anger. Sometimes it sounds like calm, reasonable sentences that leave you no room to breathe. I have 3 adult children. My eldest son is the responsible one, organized, persuasive, and entitled. My daughter stayed close and learned my moods. She is also quietly resentful because closeness is expensive when you're the only one paying. My youngest son has been the scapegoat for so long he almost apologizes when he speaks. A family can run on love, but it can also run on leverage. I didn't wake up one morning and decide to set traps for my children. I slid into it the way people slide into debt. One small compromise at a time. Let him handle the paperwork. Let him speak for me. Let him be the one everyone calls. Each time I said yes, I gave away a piece of authority and told myself it was maturity. Convenience is a quiet form of surrender. By the time I noticed what my eldest son was doing, my options were already limited. I had seen my own name placed where my hand had never been. I had watched him treat my trust like a tool, not a gift. And the worst part is this. I can't pretend I was entirely surprised. He has always believed love is something you manage, not something you earn. Love doesn't need secrecy. Control does. So I went to the lawyer, and I brought my daughter because she was the one who still showed up when I asked. That doesn't make me kind. It makes me predictable. The lawyer's office smelled like paper and furniture polish. A small lamp threw a warm circle over a stack of documents. The paper had a faint texture, ridged enough to catch the pads of your fingers. I noticed a shallow drawer on the desk, slightly misaligned, as if it had been yanked open too many times. Beyond the lamplight, the room softened into shadow, like everything outside the circle didn't count. My daughter sat in the waiting area. Through the thin wall, I heard her shoe tapping, slow and controlled, like she was counting how long it takes a mother to become a threat. The lawyer slid the pages toward me, and his pen scratched the margins as he pointed to lines. My eldest son wasn't there. He said he had obligations. My youngest son wasn't there because I didn't invite him. I told myself I was sparing him stress. The truth is uglier. I didn't want his eyes on me while I chose sides. When you exclude someone long enough, they stop expecting a seat. The first reversal came before I touched the pen. The lawyer said, "You asked for this to be conditioned on presence." I nodded. The sealed letter would only be opened at the reading of the will, and only if all 3 children were in the room. If one refused to attend, the letter would be handed to my daughter, unopened, with instructions in my handwriting. People who love control hate being forced into a room, and I built that pressure on purpose. The lawyer reached into the misaligned drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. No wax, no theatrics, just heavy paper, a firm flap, and my name across it in steady black ink. The adhesive seam caught the lamplight like a thin blade. He set it down without sliding it, as if even the sound of it moving would be too intimate. The second reversal sat inside that ordinary envelope. I hadn't written a goodbye. I had written a mechanism. "Once you sign," he said, "this letter won't change the will's numbers, but it will change what your children can pretend." I rested my fingertips on the envelope for a second. The paper was cool, almost dry, like it didn't care who it hurt. Then I pulled my hand back and signed. The pen made a dry scratching sound that felt too loud. Pages turned under careful fingertips, each turn like a small warning. When it was done, the lawyer closed the folder with a soft thump and looked at me like a human, not client. "Your daughter's listening," he said. "Do you want her to know what she's heard?" That was the third reversal. He already knew, and now I had to decide whether I was honest or strategic. I didn't answer right away. I asked, "Did she hear about the sealed letter?" He said, "Enough to know it exists." I told him to step out. The latch clicked. The click sounded like a small lock being set. I pulled out my checkbook. That detail matters because it shows the kind of person I can be: practical, tidy, and capable of using money like a muzzle. I wrote cleanly, tore the check free along the perforation, and slid it onto the polished wood. Its edge scraped the desk, a tiny sound of transaction. My daughter came in when I called her. She didn't sit. She stood near the lamplight, arms folded, eyes sharp, like she was prepared to be disappointed, but unwilling to beg. "What did you do?" she asked. I gave her a controlled slice of truth. "You overheard something," I said. "You will not repeat it to your brothers." She didn't plead. She asked, "Why?" "Because I was afraid of what happens when control is confronted." I pointed at the check. The fourth reversal was her understanding. "You're paying me," she said. "I'm compensating you," I said, as if the word could scrub the act clean. "How long?" she asked. "Until the reading," I said. She let the check sit between us like a third person. Then she lifted it with 2 fingers, as if it might stain her. "You want silence because you're afraid," she said. I didn't deny it. Denial would have insulted her intelligence, and I've insulted her enough in quieter ways. She looked at the check again, then at me, and in that look I saw something I didn't want to see. She knew exactly who I was, and she was still choosing to stay. Resentment often smiles while it signs the receipt. "Fine," she said, not forgiving, not agreeing, just accepting. She tucked the check away and walked out without another word, as if she didn't trust herself to speak and stay civil. Secrets don't keep peace. They just postpone the fight. We left. The lawyer took the sealed envelope back and snapped his folder shut. Our footsteps echoed in the hallway. Mine steady, hers half a beat behind. That half beat is our history. Close, but never equal. The fifth reversal happened inside me. I realized I had turned my daughter into what my eldest son always assumed she was, an accomplice, and I had done it with a gentle voice. After that, I watched my children differently. My eldest son spoke to me like a supervisor checking progress. My daughter measured her words like she was carrying something fragile. My youngest son stayed distant, and I told myself he was stubborn, because that lie let me avoid admitting what I'd trained him to expect. Now the day arrived that I designed for them and for myself, the reading of the will. This is the second and final concrete scene, and I won't pretend I didn't build it like a stage. The conference room was cooler, the light flatter, a long table, evenly spaced chairs, a water pitcher nobody touched. The air held that tight, quiet people wear when they've rehearsed their faces. The lawyer's pen sat aligned with the edge of his notebook, as if straight lines could keep emotions contained. All 3 of my children came. My eldest son arrived first, shoulders squared, a folder in his hand like a badge. My daughter came second, empty-handed, eyes scanning the room like she was locating exits. My youngest son arrived last, pausing in the doorway like he expected to be told he didn't belong, then taking the chair farthest from his brother. The sealed letter sat in front of the lawyer. Same thick paper, same black ink, my name across the flap like a boundary. The 6th reversal came before the lawyer read anything. "I need to confirm you are all present," he said. "This matters." My eldest son leaned forward. "Why?" The lawyer answered with procedure. "Your mother left a sealed letter that must be opened in front of all 3 of you. If one of you refused to attend, it would be handed to your sister." My eldest son turned to my daughter. "You knew?" My daughter didn't flinch. "I knew there was a letter," she said. "I didn't know what it said." The uneven knowledge sat in the room like a weight. The lawyer began with the ordinary parts: property, accounts, items. My eldest son nodded at lines he liked. My daughter stared at tiny scratches in the tabletop, following them as if they were roads out of the room. My youngest son kept his hands folded, knuckles pale, gaze fixed on the sealed envelope like it might bite. Then the lawyer set both hands on the sealed letter and let the moment stretch until everyone felt it. The seventh reversal arrived with a sound. The adhesive tore, rough and fibrous, like fabric giving way. It wasn't cinematic, it was worse. Mundane destruction, paper being forced open because it had been made to resist. He unfolded my letter and read my handwriting aloud. I wrote that I discovered my eldest son used my name to move what wasn't his. I wrote that he signed what I didn't sign and called it handling things. I wrote that he told himself he deserved it because he carried the family. My eldest son's chair creaked as he shifted. His mouth opened, then closed. He stared at the paper like it was forged, like the ink had betrayed him. The eighth reversal cut deeper. I wrote that my youngest son tried to warn me. I wrote that he asked questions about numbers and signatures, and I dismissed him because it was easier to call him difficult than to admit I had allowed someone else to run my life. My youngest son blinked hard, twice. Not triumphant, stunned. His shoulders didn't lift in victory. They sagged in something closer to grief. Being validated late is still a kind of grief. My eldest son found his voice. "This is ridiculous," he said. "You can't prove any of this." That was exactly why I planned the next line. The ninth reversal. I wrote that copies of supporting documents exist, and if the will is challenged, those copies will be released to all three of them. Not privately, not negotiably. I wrote that the truth would not be bargained into silence. My eldest son's eyes flicked to the lawyer, then to my daughter, then to my youngest son. He wasn't deciding whether it was true. He was deciding whether it was survivable. Then my letter turned toward my daughter, and this is where my love stopped pretending it was gentle. I wrote that I paid her for silence. I wrote that I did it because I wanted timing, because I wanted consequences without standing in the room to absorb them. My daughter's jaw tightened. She kept her face still, but her hands clenched once, quick and small, like her body reacted before her pride could stop it. My eldest son seized on it. "So you were in on it," he said to her. "You took money." My daughter finally looked at him. Calm voice, heavy words. "I took money," she said. "You took permission." The 10th reversal belonged to my youngest son. He spoke without apologizing first. "She didn't create you," he said to our eldest. "She just stopped protecting you." My eldest son tried to pull the room back under him with familiar labels: disloyal, dramatic, unstable. The words landed, but they didn't stick the way they used to. The lawyer read the end of my letter. I wrote that I wasn't a victim. I was a participant. I wrote that I let my eldest son take over because it made my life easier. I wrote that I used my daughter for emotional support and then used her again for silence. I wrote that I punished my youngest son for being honest because his honesty threatened my comfort. It is possible to love your children and still harm them with your love. After that, the distributions barely mattered. My eldest son looked like a man losing a narrative. My daughter looked like someone realizing closeness can be manipulated. My youngest son looked like someone hearing reality spoken into record. Love without respect becomes possession. Silence only protects the person who benefits from it. And now the cliffhanger. There is a second sealed letter, and only one of my children already knows exactly where it is.